mynews.studio.
Picture this. On a dusty border, a Sudanese mother grips her child's hand and steps into the unknown. How many stories like hers never reach us?
Today is June 12th, 2025. It's World Refugee Day. Right now, the world faces a staggering figure, 123.2 million people displaced. Does that number even feel real when you hear it?
It's almost impossible to imagine, but that's 1 in every 67 people on Earth. And these aren't just numbers. Each one is someone who's left behind homes, jobs, sometimes even family, just to survive.
Let's try to break that down a bit. Sudan, Ukraine, Burkina Faso, just 3 examples driving this surge. What do you think stands out in each of these crises?
Well, in Sudan, you've got people fleeing a conflict that's dragged on for years. Camps that were meant to be temporary become, well, almost permanent. Schools are limited, jobs even rarer. Survival mode, day after day.
But Ukraine's a bit different, right? The number of people displaced is huge, but Europe's response has been quick. Policies change fast. There's shelter, education, even job support. Still, millions depend on aid, and the trauma is.
It runs deep, yes. And then there's Burkina Faso, scarcity and insecurity everywhere. People are escaping violence, but also the lack of basic resources, water, food, safety. Host countries are stretched thin. How do you rebuild when there's almost nothing left?
It's the personal stories that hit hardest. Did you see that report on the Sudanese family separated at the border, or Ukrainian kids starting over in Polish schools? There's resilience, but also so much loss and uncertainty.
Absolutely. Children are right at the center of all this. They're the most vulnerable, but sometimes show the most courage. Imagine starting over. New language, new country. What does that even take for a child?
Some places have found ways to support refugees. Germany, Canada, they offer language classes, job training, legal pathways. The data shows that when refugees get education and work, their long-term outlook improves. Why isn't that approach everywhere?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Part of it comes down to resources, but there's also the issue of political will. On World Refugee Day, we hear calls for solidarity, but does that translate into action? Are countries really sharing responsibility or just passing it on?
Donor fatigue is real, and some policies make things tougher. But there are solutions, innovative financing, sharing responsibilities more fairly. Are we moving beyond crisis response to real long-term inclusion?
The stakes couldn't be higher. The refugee crisis is testing global compassion and cooperation. Strengthening legal protections, involving the private sector, tackling root causes. These aren't distant goals. They're urgent steps we need now.
And these stories matter because they remind us refugees aren't just statistics or headlines. They're neighbors, classmates, co-workers, if we let them be.
When we listen to refugees, we turn numbers back into people. That's where empathy starts. Maybe that's where solutions begin too.
Right now, millions of lives depend on decisions made by communities and governments. What part do we want to play?
That's all for today's episode. One border crossed and so many stories still unfolding. Thanks for being with us.
We talked about the scale of displacement, personal stories from Sudan, Ukraine, Burkina Faso, and what's needed for real solutions.
Thank you for tuning in. This episode was brought to you by My News Studio. Give it a try for free.